Hello, guys. Welcome to my very first visual effects webinar. I'm so happy to be doing this. Thank you all for your patience. Thank you all for your interest. Everyone who has been asking, David, when will you do like structured classes? We really love what you do. We love to get into it, and so on and so forth. So here is me trying to demystify things. Thank you all for your time and your patience. So the visual effects pipeline. Oh my, say, this sounds like it sounds like it's oil and gas. Is it oil and gas? Are we dealing on oil here? No, no, no. Pipeline is a process. I'll explain. But for visual effects, VFX works like fractional distillation. If you remember your chemistry well, at a particular point, if you're refining crude oil at a particular temperature, you get diesel, right? At a particular temperature, you have your DPK, your kerosene, you have your PMS, your petroleum, and so on and so forth. So you have your AGO and the rest. The rest resources that comes out from refining crude oil. So you have different temperatures that gives you these different resources, right? That's what happens with visual effects or 3D. If you're trying to learn 3D and you just jump into it like that, just start working on the project, it might not work for you. You might struggle. You keep watching tutorials upon tutorials and learning nothing. When it's time for you to now work on a project, you struggle because you've not really had a firm understanding of what VFX is, what 3D is, what animation is, and you begin to struggle. So that's why I've structured this down. It's called the visual effects pipeline, and as I walk you through it, I believe you're going to learn a thing or two from this webinar. So what's the goal of the webinar? The goal of the webinar, number one, is to educate beginners. Number two, to remove intimidation about VFX, because VFX can be hard. It looks difficult. It's scary. By the time you see the kind of softwares we use, looks like it's a pilot cockpit. You might want to run away, and so on and so forth. But it's not scary. It's not difficult. It's just that you need to understand the workflow. You need to understand the process to be able to get into it or to be able to learn. Number three is to show a clear career path on how everything goes. So a little about myself. My name is David Morrow. I'm a 3D generalist working on both personal and client projects, from music videos to hard surface models to product animation to films, animations, to and so on and so forth, architectural visualization. So it's a lot. I'm more like a generalist. So I would say, if you try to learn as a generalist, the way I learned is I had a structure. I knew I'm someone who is interested in the whole pipeline, so I approached it that way. But if you're not someone that's interested in the whole pipeline, how everything works, and you just jump into it without a plan, you will leave with nothing. You will come out and you'll be frustrated that it's too difficult. You're not learning anything. So I always advise, if you want to learn 3D, if you want to get into visual effects, try to learn it as a specialist. Specialize in one area. Get better at that. Learn the next thing. Get better at that before you learn the next thing. And number two, try to collaborate. When maybe you're good in 3D and modeling and you're good in lighting, try to collaborate, and you want to work on a project that has animation, try to look for someone who's good in rigging and animation, and you collaborate. So because if you try to learn it all by yourself, it can be demanding, daunting, scary, everything, every word you can add. So that's what I try to learn. Try to learn as a specialist. That's what I try to advise. Learn as a specialist and follow a curriculum. If not, you will jump into YouTube today, you see this tutorial, you'll be so happy, oh, this is what I want to learn. And before you finish that one, YouTube is already giving you suggestions. And before you know it, you're in a rabbit hole. You've opened like 10 to 20 slides of things you want to learn, or 10 to 20 pages, of things you want to learn. And at the end of the day, You spent the whole day there and you've not learned anything. You're because you're just so lost in so much knowledge. You try to assimilate knowledge and nothing sticks. So try to learn as a specialist, not as a generalist. That's my advice. So my next slide will be why visual effects matters in today's industry. Number one, 3D and visual effects, or 3D and VFX, is everywhere. It's in films, in games, in ads, the automobile industry, in medicine, in architectural visualization, is in event planning, is in interior design. Even people are using it for food right now. Food creation and the rest. So it's in it's everywhere. It's the skill set is needed in almost every industry. So even in fashion industry, there are people that are into 3D clothing and 3D design. So it's really a wide range of skill sets. So try and pick one, specialize. If not, if you try to learn everything, you would hit rock bottom faster than I can say Jack Robinson. So number two is there's demand for skilled artists. The demand for skilled artists is growing. Number three is that studios and employers need artists who understand pipeline and not just softwares. I get this question a lot where beginners ask me, David, what software should I start with? Oh, I want to learn this software. I'm interested in this other software. And I'll be like, you can't learn this way. I won't lie to you. Continue like this. In the next 1 year, you'll come back to me and tell me you have not started anything, or you finished tutorials upon tutorials and you still don't know how to work on your own project. So I don't advise jumping into softwares. First of all, sit with yourself. Try to find someone who's into it to advise you where to start from. Watch videos on how to start. So you don't jump into a rabbit hole of it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things. So the problem most beginners face, number one, they'll tell you, I don't know where to start. Number two, I learn tools, but I can't come up with a creative idea of my own. Number three, my work doesn't look professional. And the problem isn't talent. That's one thing I tell people. It's lack of pipeline. You can't see someone who has been in the industry for 10 to 30 years and you want to start you want to start learning 3D today and you expect your work to be as good as that person. No, it doesn't work that way. It's not magic. It takes time. It's not a get rich quick skill set. It's something you have to be patient, take your time with it, practice to get better. So that's what I always tell people. Where do I start from? YouTube tutorial. I learn, like I said, I'm not discouraging you from learning from YouTube. I learned from YouTube, but I learned with a focus, with a purpose. I said, okay, I want to first of all start with modeling. Let me be good at modeling. So I started from there. Oh, what's the next stuff? I want to see how my models look. Do they look fine under good lighting conditions? Then I went into lighting. And I became better at lighting because I already shoot videos in real life. I shoot client videos, and so on and so forth. So I light my sets. So I was already good lighting. I understood 3-point lighting, how to light physical objects. So I took that knowledge into 3D. So that's how I was able to merge the knowledge. My lighting became good. I could light objects and composite them together with real life objects, and you think that object was there. You won't even know that that's 3D. So start from somewhere. Don't try to learn everything. You would have seen people most times tell me, oh, I finished the donut tutorial, but after the donut tutorial I felt like I don't still know anything about 3D. And most times I tell them the donut tutorial should be explored when at least you have actually understood the pipeline and why the donut tutorial is important, because it's a lot of knowledge that there's in that tutorial that sometimes you can leave with so much knowledge, and at the end when you sit down to do your own stuff, you're lost. So start from somewhere, start from one before you progress, because and try to understand the software, try to understand how to communicate with the software, try to understand your interface first, and so on and so forth. So our next slide will talk about what is visual effects pipeline. I would say I wrote down that the VFX pipeline is a step-by-step production process directors and studios use to turn an idea into a final visual effect. So every director, from Steven Spielberg to the James Camerons to the Ryan Coogler's, to a lot of directors use this pipeline. So when you think of an idea and how it is brought into a final, a final shot or a conclusion, they use they use a VFX pipeline to bring their ideas to life. For example, you're a designer working on with a team, and let's say you're working with Apple, and Tim Cook walks up to you and say, "Oh, XYZ, I'm not saying your name is XYZ, but we have this project. We're trying to design the next Apple iPhone 18. We need you to come up with prototype designs and so on and so forth." So that kind of project, how do you approach it? Where do you start from? Yes, this is why you need a pipeline on how to start such a project. So there are 3 stages of the visual effects pipeline. 1 is the pre-production stage, 2 is the production stage, and 3 is the post-production stage. Now every Hollywood studio and director follows this structure. Yes, they are like similar with the stages of production and filmmaking, but it's almost similar. Visual effects, for all the processes of the stages of filmmaking and production, VFX fits into these stages. And first, let's look at pre-production. In pre-production, VFX fits into pre-production from the concept and the story phase, where you develop the concepts, develop the storyboard, you plan your shots. For example, concepting might mean that for example, like I said, you're designing song. What do I get? This is where you have the time to experiment, draw, get your drawings out, get your ideas on paper, on the board, and so on and so forth. So then you plan your shot. If you're going to be shooting a video, this is where you look up other people's work and say, "Oh, I like this shot." You can screen grab it and put it on your mood board. So pre-production is very, very important. You do not approach any task in 3D or in visual effects without pre-production. It's important. It's a very, very important stage. Now the production stage, this is the stage where we call the asset creation stage. This is the stage that carries 3D modeling, the texturing, the rigging, the layout, the animation, the FX simulation, the lighting, the rendering, the compositing, and so on and so forth. So this is where the heavy work of visual effects takes place. And this is why I try to advise students who are trying to learn. This is a lot. Don't try to learn everything. You can pick, what am I most interested in? I love lights. I'm very good in light. I love playing with lights. I'm very good at set designing. I'm very good at interior designs, or I'm good in decorations. So if you're someone who's good in decorations, that's good in lights, lighting and everything, I would advise you can take your knowledge into layout, into 3D as a layout designer. You are good in layout. You know how to they call it kit bashing. You know how to take different models and put them together, arrange a set. This is where the door, maybe with architectural visualization, you say, this is where the door should be, this is where the windows should be, this is where so on and so forth. If you're designing a stage, this is where the entrance should be, and so on and so forth. Or if you're working on a movie and they need you to design a set, say, let's say you're working on a John Wick movie and they're shooting in a kitchen. You say, okay, this is why I want the burner to be, this is why I want the utensils to be. You're good with arrangements, then you can get into visual effects and 3D as a layout artist. If you're good you like building things in craftsmanship, you can get there into VFX as a 3D modeling artist or as a sculptor. Then if you're good in programming, if you're good in computer language, you can and your maths and physics is good, you can convert your skill set as a FX simulator or as a rigging artist, because this is where you do a lot of coding and scripting. If your maths and physics is good, you would suit well into an FX simulator or an FXTD technical director, where you can write scripts on training AI models, training coming up with concept designs, or repetitive work. You can write scripts to help with any job that has to deal with repetitive pipeline or a repetitive process. You can help shorten all of that. So I mean, it's a lot. So to find which part of the pipeline suits you and suits your style of work, and you get into it, and you see that when you get into 3D that way, it becomes easier for you to understand. It becomes easier for you to assimilate the knowledge. Now, the next is how studios actually work. For example, I really love, there are 2 or 3 studios I follow a lot, and number one is called Weta Digital FX. Weta FX, they are a studio in, I think, New Zealand, and they are very good. Their work is so good. ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, is another studio that I really respect their work, and I look up to it. I follow their work and follow how they tackle projects. So we're talking about how studios like that. So Weta is a studio that has brought some of the finest visual effects work in the world, like Kingdom of the Planets of the Apes, Planets of the Ape franchise, and how good visual effects is, that the apes look so real. Weta has really helped out in developing that. Even the Avatar, the James Cameron Avatar, the blue avatars, from the Fire and Ash to the first one that came out in 2009. Weta FX is one studio that I really respect. Even ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, is another studio that I respect so much. From it was a studio that was developed by George Lucas, which is the director and the writer for the Star Wars series. So how do they work? They work based on team-based workflow. Each artist handles a role. Assets move through departments. So that's how they work. Nobody just comes in and just knows everything. Yes, they have generalist roles and people that really know a lot about every pipeline or every department. But when it comes down to working, they break it down into team-based roles and team-based workflows. So that's how visual effects work. Nobody knows everything. No one's an island. Just focus on one, be a specialist, and try to increase your knowledge by learning more things. So the next slide is why students struggle, learning 3D and visual effects, especially from online tutorials. Number one, learning tools and softwares, not pipeline. A lot of students struggle because they are all about, what software is better, what software works best, what software is better at this, this software is better than this one, so I'll go with this. And I'm like, as a beginner, you should not be concerned so much about the software you're using. Do you understand what it's used for? Do you understand the ideology or the idea behind it? Why is this software important in the whole pipeline and whole process? That's what you should be honest. You should try to understand. Try to understand the pipeline and what software works best in that pipeline. Not just being trying to learn so many softwares and at the end your work is not still quality enough. So I try to advise, pick a role in the pipeline, and you can start up with one software. Tools can always be learned, but the skill set, the eye that a professional looks at it and say, change this, it comes from experience. So you should not glorify tools over the talent. Tools can be learned, but talent is what is really needed in this industry. So number 2 is there's no feedback from online tutorials that much. Number 3 is no real projects, because after you're done with the tutorial, what next? You now see a lot of students blank out. Oh, I just completed this series. Oh, what next? I'm stuck. I don't even know how to come up with my own idea. That happens a lot in the industry, where people just learn tools upon tools, jump on tutorials upon tutorials, and at the end of the day, they don't know how to, tackle a project or their own projects. And number three is, in Nigeria or in Africa where we find ourselves, there are no standard studios where students can go and learn, or can go and participate or intern, and train under. So this is where structured training changes everything. Now this is where I introduce MI3. What's MI3? MI3 stands for Metaverse Institute of 3D. So over the years, I've had a lot of students reach out to me and say, "Oh, David, we love what you do. I've seen your work. I love when you show your screen, when you post about your work. I'm so interested. How do I learn? How do I get into what you do? Where do I start from? What's this all about?" Some people don't even know what visual effects means or what VFX means and how 3D works. So I and my partners have come together to put MI3 together. MI3, like I said, stands for Metaverse Institute of 3D. Is the Institute of Metaverse. So Metaverse is already a visual effects and 3D company founded by my humble self and a group of partners. So we have come together to structure a 6-month training program where we train people on 3D, on designing in 3D, on visual effects. I mean, it's not all about just about movies. It can be on automobile design, it can be on architectural designs, so on and so forth. It's a lot for the design process. So one might be saying, is it just for movies? No, it's not just for movies. It can be game designs. If you're creating characters, you're sculpting characters. So if you need somewhere to start from, if you need you need mentorship, you need if you're someone who has always been interested in movie making, how Hollywood does its movies and how to become better. If you're a creative already, if you're a director, if you're a filmmaker, this training has been structured to take you from zero to hero, from beginner to advanced. We are using a studio style workflow. How professional studios, the studios I mentioned, the ILMs, the Weta FX, DNEGs, so these are all professional studios in countries abroad. So we're using studio style workflows on how they develop games, on how they develop movies. So number three is we have a mentorship program. So I'm one of the tutors in MI3. With my little years of experience, I believe I have what it takes to also impact in the next generation or the next generation of students who are interested and say, "Oh, David, we really would want to know your field of work or have a knowledge of what you do." So this is an opportunity that we've created. We have real time or real production mindset, and we're also going to be making a short film. So what we're trying to do is this: we're trying to build the next Pixar in Nigeria. So just think about how Disney is, how Pixar is. When you watch Inside Out, when you watch The Bad Guys from DreamWorks, or you watch Shrek, and all these movies, and there's none from an African point of view, and you wonder, is it that movie makers only love live action? We want to see an African animated movie. So this is the reason why we have come together to put this together. We are building the next Pixar or the next DreamWorks in Nigeria. If you're interested in something like this, there will be links in the bio, in my bio, or wherever you're watching this video from. There will be a link attached to it. You can reach out to or to speak with me directly and see how I can guide you. So what you'll be learning and the curriculum overview is like a 6 months to project or a 6-month training program. From week 1 to week 4, we're going to be taking foundation classes on digital basics, storytelling, camera operations, photography, basic video editing, and so on and so forth. Then from week 5 to week 12, we're talking about the core VFX skills from CG basics. CG stands for computer generated images, or CGI. From CGI basics, texturing, compositing, we'll be looking at. Then from week 13 to 20, we'll be looking at modeling, UV mapping, rigging, animation, lighting. From week 21 to 28, we'll be looking at particles, at fluid simulations, at rigid body dynamics, at integration and integration. And week 29 to 36, we'll be looking at compositing, color grading, and visual storytelling. The advantage of this is that after this program, there's going to be a studio absorption opportunity. Remember, I said we're trying to build the next Pixar in Nigeria, so we need to get students up to a level where we can work on client projects, we can start making our own movies. So the skill set is needed first before getting into the workforce. So the studio absorption opportunity is that from top performing students would be absorbed into Metaverse, either as tutors, those who are interested on tutoring the next set or in the next generation of 3D artists, or those who are interested in becoming the next visual effects artist for movies. We're trying to change how a lot of people complain that why is Nollywood not matching Hollywood blow for blow? Why are we not yet there yet in our filmmaking? Truth is, the skill set is there, but it's limited. You can see, and if you look at the end credits of most of these movies, you see about 20,000 names scrolling and scrolling. This is because this is a skill set that 10 people put together can't really do it alone. You need more people, you need hundreds of people. So a lot of people, for us to change. And that in Nigeria, the entertainment industry is growing so fast. So it's growing so fast that there's beginning to be a lot of demand on the way we make our movies, into adapting technology into movie making. So this is why this project or this program is very important. So we'll be absorbing top performing students. We are evaluating on skills and attitude. Everybody that's very good and has performed will be absorbed into Metaverse, and there's going to be real production mindset. We'll be using real production mindset, how directors in Hollywood work. So who's this program for? It's for complete beginners, it's for filmmakers, for designers, it's for motion artists. And who's not for? It's for people looking for shortcuts. Like I said, 3D takes time. There's no shortcut to this thing. So if you're looking for shortcuts, if you're looking for something, can I learn it in 1 or 2 months and immediately start earning, or this not 3D is not something for you. Sorry to disappoint you. It takes time, it takes practice, a lot of practice. It's not for people who are unwilling to practice. So if you're willing to practice, if you are not looking for shortcuts, then this is the right program for you. What are the success parts? The success part is to take you from beginner to an advanced student, to a junior artist, to a studio staff, to working on a lot of client projects and in-house projects. So how do I join? Like I said, there'll be a link wherever you're watching this webinar. There's going to be a link to join either our WhatsApp platform, where you can talk with me directly, get more information on how to get started, how to register for the academy. Thank you all for your time. If you have questions, wherever you're watching this, feel free to drop your questions wherever you're seeing this video, and I and my team will reach out to you and will answer your questions. So thank you again for your time. Really appreciate you doing this with me. Like I said, 3D is not difficult. It's just how do you approach it that's important. It's not all about software, it's about the skill set. You have to specialize, try and specialize, and not try to get everything at once. The moment you try to learn everything at once, the moment you do not follow a particular curriculum, it becomes so difficult to pick anything out of it. So thank you all for joining, and see you guys in class when you register. All right, take care, bye.